Why do lovers fall out of love? Now, almost all marriages begin with love before they navigate out of love. Almost all marriages. And almost all of the times, when people are in love, they are irresistible. They look so beautiful. They look so amazing. They look like the envy of the world. Everybody falls in love with just seeing a couple head over heels in love. You see couples in such deep depth of love, and even yourself, your appetite for marriage is inspired, provoked, and taken to a whole new level. But the question will be, how is it that before long, most of these marriages are so empty, so 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 completely empty of love that you begin to wonder what happened? What in the world is going on? Listen to this. Love, I think I'm still researching on this, but I think love is probably the most important emotion in a marital space. Love is probably the most important, the most critical emotion in a marital space, in a romantic relationship, to the extent that a marriage without love is a nightmare. A loveless marriage is like an endurance trek coupled with a toothache, troubling toothache all through the life of a person. A loveless marriage is probably the worst thing that can happen to anybody. I will prefer to find myself in any other kind of predicament than to be dealing with emotional issues, to be dealing with a failed marriage, to be dealing with a marriage that is devoid of love. The question now is, why do lovers fall out of love? Number one, it's so important that we come to that place where we realize that love is a fragile emotion, very fragile. Love as an emotion is fragile, very fragile. I think love as an emotion is the most fragile of all emotions. I'm still working on that. But so far, that's what I think. That's what I feel. Very, very extremely fragile. It's so fragile that unprotected, you'll be looking for love like um, a pin in a dark room. You'll be looking, it will so fizzle out, you'll be looking for it like it never existed. You'll be wondering if you're the one in the midst of that, you'll be wondering, where is this? If you are the one that saw them so much in love and you'll be wondering what you'll be wondering, so where did it go to? And so we because love is a very fragile emotion, we must build bulwarks, we must build fortifications, we must build walls of protection and preservation, we must build walls of security around love. Otherwise, trust me, it'll fizzle out before you realize. Systems and structures must be put in place if we expect longevity in our love lives, if we expect longevity in our love work, if we are not going to wake up one morning and be wondering where in the world all the love we felt for this person went to, then we must build protection, security around our love life. Otherwise, it's going to be miserable. And I don't think that's what you're looking at. Now, quickly, one of the first structures that we need to put in place to protect and preserve love, the emotions, the romance of love, one of them protection structures and systems we need to put in place is what I will call a clearly defined, mutually accepted um, statement of vision, clearly defined. accepted by both parties. We have to put them visions in place, goals in place, aspirations in place, clearly defined. This is so profound. This is so important. You know why? Many of us build relationships without any objective in mind. All we do is, I'm in love, so something should start. I'm in love, so I want to be in love ever after. Incidentally, check out all marriages that have been 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. All them partners will tell you that they never felt love every one of those years. They didn't feel like they didn't feel love every month of those years. They didn't feel love every week of those years. They didn't feel love every day of those years. It means that we must come to terms with the fragility of love and try to protect that. If we don't do that, it's going to mess us up. Many of us get into relationships with no specific objective, no goal in mind. But I can tell you for free that God has a purpose for every relationship on the face of the earth. It was Zaza Gabor that said this, and I want to quote her. Zaza Gabor is an American socialite. Zaza Gabor lived for 99 years. Zaza Gabor, during her lifetime, was married 9 times. Zaza Gabor, during her lifetime, was divorced 7 times, and one of her marriages were annulled. And she said this, and no matter what you think, if somebody has been married 9 times, divorced 7 times, if she says something, you want to listen to it. You just don't want to discard it. You want to listen to her. Zaza Gabor said, getting divorced just because you don't love a man is almost as silly as getting married just because you love him. Profound statement. Why do I quote Zaza Gabor? A lot of us get married because of love. That's sad. That's sad for me because, listen, love ought to be a vehicle to a higher goal. Love ought to be a higher destination. Love is supposed to be a platform, a conveyor that takes you, that helps you, that facilitates your journey to a higher goal and objective. And I'm saying that if that higher goal, if that higher objective is not in place and is not secured, I can tell you for free that the time is coming. You're going to look for them love and you're not going to find them. So your reason for getting into a relationship has to be beyond love. As soon as you lose sight of those objectives, as soon as you lose sight of those goals and those aspirations, then you're going to be left with just emotions. You're going to be left with just emotions. And once you're left with that, you're going to find yourself in a situation where your love is going to fizzle out. It's like a pilot. It's like a pilot that announced to his passengers, he said to them, we are lost, folks, but share up. We're making excellent headway. How do you make excellent headway when you are lost in a journey? That's completely a mess. I'm going to say 6 things quickly that systems and structures are going to do for your love life. I'm going to mention 6 things quickly that a clearly defined vision that is acceptable to both partners will do in preserving your love. Number one, as soon as your vision, a clear vision, is defined, it terminates your right to do whatever you like. Profound. A clearly defined vision goal, a clearly defined vision statement, a clearly defined aspiration will completely terminate and eliminate your right to do whatever you like in that relationship. Listen, number two, as soon as vision is clearly defined, vision takes the lead. Listen, it takes the lead over from you and then it decides who your partner should be. The vision decides what you should become. Number three, in terms of, because once vision is clearly defined, a clear destination is defined, there are people, there are competencies, there are compassions, there are capacities, there are contents that make you qualified to be the person that can achieve that vision. So once your vision is clearly defined, it takes the lead and decides who you should strive to become. It takes the lead and decides who your partner should be if that vision is going to be accomplished. It takes the lead to decide what you can do. It takes the lead to decide what you cannot do. And then it empowers you to trust the future. It empowers you to act decisively. It empowers you to command predictable outcomes. That's what vision does. And I'm saying that your love work, I'm saying that your relationship must critically have installed a clearly defined vision, systems and structures. That's just one of them that will put you in a place where you can preserve your love because it'll just control some of the things that we do. Let me say this as I round off. Number one, you ought to be able, not assume, you ought to, and in this case, I'm not talking about faith, I'm talking about hope. Well, hope in the sense that you based on action steps, plan of actions, lineup of actions, you ought to be able to predict the outcome of your love work in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. Predictable outcome is the key here because of capacities, competencies that are framed by the vision that is in place, by things you will do, things you ought to do, things you ought not to do, that positions you strategically. Three things I'd like you to do quickly as a roundup. Number one, take a piece of paper and then develop a vision for your love life. Number two, take that piece of paper and then reduce that vision into a vision statement. Where are you going? What's your vision for the family you want to introduce into the face of the earth? Number three, go out there and look for my latest book, Develop a Roadmap for Your Love Life. I'll try to put the link somewhere there that can aid you to have access to that book. But one thing is key: you must develop a roadmap for your love life. You must put systems in place that will guide you in this journey and make sure the love you start with is sustained and you are able to hold on to it all through the journey. Never forget, a loveless marriage is the worst thing that can happen to a person. You don't want to do that. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's broadcast. I'm afraid I gotta go.